Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Stress to Logic and Firearm Mentor, where we teach people to remain safe, stay sharp, and train for the moment that matters. And today we have on the line Richard Greenswag, who is a local attorney, but also the Vice President of Hunger Resource Network, or HRN, you might hear us talk about to shorten it. And HRN really is a background organization that helps feed people by providing protein to local food pantries. All right, so what? So what does this have to do with safety? Well, there's hunger insecurity in the community. As a matter of fact, for about 15 or 16 months, 10 plus years ago, I actually was homeless and I had to rely on SNAP benefits, which went away. We'll talk about that. And I had to rely on food pantries because my SNAP benefits for myself and my two tween boys at the time was $176 or so a month, which is not, that's like one grocery trip. So really near and dear to my heart is Hunger Resource Network. And Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Awesome.
I appreciate you being here.
And the funny thing is, I know Richard from a social group where we once a month get together in someone's backyard and just puff on some cigars and have a drink or two and just hang out. It's not even a business network. It's business people, but we talk all sorts of stuff, family and politics and what's going on in the world. It's not a business type meeting. It's more just of a social thing. So, Richard, can you tell everyone, what is your personal origin story and how did you get to where you are today?
Sometimes when I answer that question, I go into, I was born in a manger, animals spoke, that sort of thing. But no, I don't think anybody's going to buy the fact that I'm a Messiah, so we'll skip that. I was born and raised in Davenport and Bettendorf, Iowa. And asked me, you don't sound like you're from Iowa. And I said, well, what do Iowans sound like? Raised in a, very upper middle class family. We had everything we needed, physically and financially. I had no real struggle. My father was very charitable, was involved in a lot of stuff, gave away a lot of money, oftentimes to his detriment. And sort of instilled in me, when you get lucky enough to live this kind of life, you owe something back. But I had opportunities that most people just don't get. I honestly felt I had to give back. I ended up in the Chicago area. I did my undergraduate work out east at a small school called Colgate, and then went back to the University of Iowa for law school. I always loved telling people my tuition at the University of Iowa was $800 a year. I don't know what you can
Holy cow.
It's unbelievable. I met my then future wife, who was from Northbrook, and the job market was good up here. I came up here. I got a job with a small firm in Northbrook, and that put me on my career. I mean, it's interesting because most people say, well, how did you choose what kind of law you went into? Like most people, you're almost directed by your first job. You get your first job, and wherever they kind of point you, that's kind of where you go. I did get to dabble in litigation a little bit, but I didn't like it, mainly because it's just burning money. But I got into business and transactional work, and have been doing that since I was 46 years in June. So
Holy cow.
that's where we are, and we're now a 9-attorney firm that is a one-stop shop for closely held business. So my side of the firm, business and transactional, help you start your business, operate your business. We do the contract work, employment law, commercial lending, commercial real estate, buying and sell business, and we do a lot of estate planning, ownership succession, that kind of stuff. The other side is litigation, and we do a lot of business litigation. We also are very good about getting money out of insurance companies. And one of my partners is a former prosecutor at the IDFPR, so we have a big practice in licensing and can help people. There are something like 130 licensed professions, so that's what we do. So we try to be, as I said, one-stop shop for a closely held businessman and is both at a business and a personal level.
So is that other resource you're talking about, Charlie Franklin?
Charlie Franklin has actually got a huge background in insurance work.
Oh, insurance
not
work.
spending insurance companies, but making them pay. He and I both have the same philosophy. We never met an insurance company that made money by paying claims. And
Very true.
So we try to help with that, with people who are just taken advantage of a lot of the time. And fortunately, we have an insurance agency in the state, but unfortunately, it is not superstar on enforcement. So.
Right. So let's segue a little bit and talk about what is, in your words, Hunger Resource Network.
Hunger Resource Network is an organization that was started by a married couple, Dan and Linda Geriopka, who still remain incredibly involved, or they're basically the godparents of the organization. And basically what they were trying to do, they did a lot of stuff. Originally they were doing food rescue and moving it around and things like that, from farmers markets and restaurants and things, but that became logistically difficult. What they discovered was that food pantries get tons and tons of stuff like what was in your pantry for too long a time. They get pasta, they get refried beans, they get hearts of palm, they get a lot of that stuff. What they don't get is protein, okay? I assume some soy products, that sort of thing. But it's almost impossible for food pantries to maintain protein for a very long period of time. And they decided that what they really needed to do was figure out a way to get protein, in our case, it's with chicken, frozen chicken, to food pantries for distribution. And they started that. I think they originally started at St. Giles Church in Northbrook, but now it's mostly run out of Dan Geriopka's business, Action Plastics, in Northbrook. And it's really become a remarkable organization. We've tried to keep them kind of in a lane because there was a lot of sort of spreading out. So there's two other programs. One is Food to Seniors, where there's some senior communities where we have volunteer drivers who get buses from the local Y, who's been very supportive, by the way, and they drive seniors to food pantries so they can get their meals. And then the other program, and I think you'll probably end up asking about, is something called the Student PAC program, where they help students who are on reduced or free lunches to make sure that they have decent food at home. And we work with Sunset Foods on that program. They have been remarkably supportive and helpful to us. So shout out to Sunset and to the Y.
That's absolutely terrific, and I'm gonna dive into the snack program in a little bit. How did you get? I know you said you were involved in charities, and there was a karma comment there. How did you get involved with this particular charity?
Well, I had been involved in the late '90s. I got involved with an organization up in Lake County called PADS, Lake County.
Yes,
which is a homeless service organization. I was on that board for about 19 years, and I was president for 4 or 5. I can't really remember. And I'm certainly not going to tell you I was some great inspirational leader there. I wasn't, but I was very proud of the work that we did together and grew the organization. But when you become president of an organization, one of your first jobs is to train your replacement.
Yes.
And, now in my early 70s, and it was time to get out of the way. I had what I consider my best accomplishment at PADS was building a better board. We brought in very motivated people, and I'm so proud of the way they're handling that organization now, and they've done great work. But anyway, so I retired with the idea that I would slow down a little bit. And then I was approached by a friend of mine, a guy named Wayne Carlin, who was on the board of Hunger Resource Network, and he thought I might be interested. And I kind of looked at the organization. I did some research on it. And it was, at that point it was small enough, but there were a couple things I liked about it. A, it was direct action. And, they were actually getting stuff to people. And the other was that it was a very active, sort of volunteer-oriented board. And our board is remarkable. But everybody gets in and pitches in. We only have 2 employees. We have Joan Eichelberger, who is allegedly part-time, but I don't know. Every time I need anything, she's there for us, and she's just terrific. And we have a marvelous development director, Carrie Smith, who came on a couple years ago and has just done a marvelous job of fundraising for us. So I thought, okay, let's see what this is all about. And I was interviewed by a couple of people, and all of a sudden I got on. But it was kind of interesting because my first board meeting was right during COVID, and things were very uncertain. And there was sort of a question as to whether we spent the money we had for another, what we call chicken day, or whether we hoard cash for a while. And I was of the opinion that we should hoard cash for a while because cash is king, and I honestly felt that we didn't know what was going to happen with the pandemic and the rest of it. But I was outvoted, which, it was very interesting because I got like 5 or 6 chats on the thing saying, am I going to stay on the board? I was outvoted. I said, listen, I was president of the organization for 4 years. I was on the board for 12. I got outvoted all the time.
Right.
This is about collaboration. And one of the things I'm most proud of with this board is that the collaboration is good. The discussions are good. One of my partners always used to say, no single one of us is nearly as stupid as all of us. And I was a strong believer in that until I got involved in this board. But everybody contributes. Everybody's productive. Everybody gives a damn. And being involved in an organization like that is marvelous. I do have a little bit of trouble saying no. I still sort of nominally do a little work for PADS, mostly representing them and things like that. I'm very involved in the Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber. I've been on that board for a long time. And I'm on an advisory board for Habitat for Humanity, which is another amazing organization. So I like doing it. It makes me feel good.
It's kind of funny at the luncheon last year, and maybe that was the first luncheon I went to. It was talking about Hunger Heroes, and really this organization is just, well, not all heroes wear capes or badges. These people are behind the scenes. And a week or 2 ago, I did a Street Smart seminar for older Americans with a Hadassah group. That's a group of women who are Zionists. And one of the questions that came up was that people get solicited for charities all the time. How do we know that a charity is legitimate? And I said, you got to go online, you got to research it. Let me tell you about a great charity. And in that seminar, I talked about Hunger Resource Network, and that it was not only a fabulous organization doing real good work, but the lack of a 6-figure CEO with a 7-figure bonus. Your money's actually going to where they say it's going to. I thought there was only 1 employee at the time. I didn't realize there were 2, but it doesn't matter, 1 or 2. The whole idea is that it is not an administration-heavy organization where you have to pay salaries. It is the true people that want to make a difference, and you really do. And the impetus for this interview was one of my friends. He had I can't say it on the radio, but starts with SH week. He had a crap week. And his this is all like November 2nd. He had a court date. His mother passed away, and his SNAP benefits were done. He couldn't get food. So I sent him a sympathy card, and I went to Walmart, and I gave him a $50 gift card. And I said, look, I've been where you are. This is for groceries. And I just got a thank you note yesterday. So I really, really want to go into SNAP benefits and how the government shut down. How has that affected Hunger Resource Network?
Well, there's the obvious side. People are hungry, okay? And I don't think people really understand SNAP, okay? First of all, when I hear people say, oh, it's a corrupt program, actually, it's probably the least corrupt government program out there. And to the extent there is corruption, tends to be on the supplier side, not on the user side, okay? This whole myth of the welfare queen is exactly that. That person never existed. But when you actually look at what SNAP does when it's fully funded, okay, fully funded, If you are a one-person household, it works out with full funding $9.93 a day. Okay? When you have a household, it gradually goes down per person by the size of the household to the point where if you have a four-person household, you're at about $8.28 a person a day. Okay? I don't know the last time you've been to the grocery store. Okay? Not quite sure what you can buy. At this point, $8.28 a day isn't going to get you a full meal at McDonald's. Okay? And then the other problem is that over the next 10 years, another 187 under the big, beautiful bill, another $187 million in cuts are going to be given during the next 10 years. Well, add that to inflation. Where do you think this is going to go? It's pathetic, to be honest with you. Just generally, even when it's fully functional, it doesn't provide nearly enough help. Okay? Now you get into a situation where you have a government shutdown and they aren't funding SNAP benefits, and then the court orders them to fund it because even if you go to the Department of Agriculture's website, they'll say they've got a contingency fund for this, and during every other shutdown, they have not shut these down. So when the court said you got to fund it, we have an administration, I'm sorry, we have an administration that actually went to court to fight that. I can't think of anything more cruel. Okay? I'm sorry, I just can't.
Well, words that come to mind I can't say on the radio.
Yeah, I get it. Obviously, the need is greater. The sort of unintended consequence is that I think our fundraising is getting a little bit better because I think you're seeing more people step up. It's not that we're getting more money, but what you're seeing is restaurants giving away free meals and people contributing more to organizations that help the homeless and the hungry. So people are trying to step up, but you can't yank a program like this or eviscerate it like this without there being a huge, huge blowback. And it's like anything else. If you give people the idea that government doesn't give a damn about them, you're going to see what we have started to see. Michigan Avenue wasn't safe, okay? And believe me, if they really believe that they've got nothing to lose, I don't care what kind of gated community you live in, you're not going to be safe, okay? It's real simple. I'm a rising tide floats all boats guy, and it helps everybody. So
that's absolutely terrific. And as you can imagine, or my listeners can imagine, I'm in various groups with people that lean conservative, and it's the conversations are really, really interesting in that people say, "Oh, we shouldn't get a job, help the home. We don't need to help them; they need to help themselves." And I'm like, "Well, hold on a second." And I'm pretty well known in those communities just because of the firearms thing. I said, what if someone loses their job? They become homeless right after a divorce and they have children. Don't you want to help them? Well, yeah, that's what the program is for. It's not for people that's, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I got back into it. I beefed up my business and I climbed out of the need for SNAP benefits, which is what some people can do. But the gentleman I mentioned, the guy's disabled. He can't do he cannot work. So for him and for parts of our society, you said it. You said a rising tide. What did you say? A rising tide.
Rising tide lifts all boats is a cliche. I'd like to say I coined it, but I didn't.
Very good. But this guy contributes to society. He's a nice guy. He just is incapable of working. And I think what you were referring to about Michigan Avenue not being safe really goes back to Abraham Maslow's psychological theory that there's 5 tiers of needs. Psychological, safety, and those are the first 2. Psychological is air, food, water. It's the bottom of the pyramid. People need food or they become desperate. And what you said about the gated communities is absolutely accurate. Now, there are also people in society that are fully capable of, I'm sure there's people that are capable of working in or on SNAP benefits. Statistically, that has to happen.
But it's minuscule.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I would have said statistically insignificant. And now I actually donate to food pantries. And it's not just oh, look, I have stuff that expired. I'm going to give them my Campbell's soup. It's real stuff. And at one point, and this was before I knew about HRN, I had a friend whose house burned down. He had moved into a rental house. Nobody ever cleaned the dryer vent, and the dryer caught on fire. His house burned down. And he was stuck in a extended care or extended stay place that actually had a lot of crime. Now, it turns out my in-laws' next-door neighbors constantly gave them food and went shopping for them, stuff they didn't ask for. And they kept giving it to us, and we kept giving it to this guy. So there are ways to help. Hunger Resource Network is certainly a great organization where the funds go to the correct people in force.
I understand what you're saying, and you're right. I mean, actually, I tend to hang with my birds of the same feather, but there are conservatives, and one of the biggest problems we deal with is fighting myths.
Yes.
Okay? The myth that, they just go get a job, until you start getting into the details. Well, what if they don't have a phone? What if they don't have an address? How do they get to the job? How do they dress for an interview? Okay? There's all this logistical stuff that, you have private organizations that are helping, and the government doesn't provide any help. One of the biggest myths I heard, and this was actually in a networking thing, somebody said, well, everybody knows panhandlers make $60,000 a year. And I just, and I like the guy, but I kind of lost it. I said, where in the hell did you get that number? I said, somebody's panhandling a huge day, be $100. Okay? If you do that 365 days a year, that's $36,500.
Right.
And no, they don't spend it on drugs, and they don't spend it on alcohol. I mean, there are some people with very serious, I think it pads something like 40 to 50% of our people have some mental health issues. So there may be some substance abuse, that sort of thing. But most of the time they spend it on socks and scarves and jackets and going to McDonald's because that's theoretically all they can afford. And the idea that they have demonized these people is, all you have to do is spend time with them, okay? And frankly, the difference between them and me, mostly dumb luck.
It's true. Absolutely hitting on the head.
So, I don't feel it's appropriate to punish someone. And, when I was at PADS, a huge percentage of our shelter people were kids under the age of 12. Okay? They going to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, sir? No.
Oh, they need to be taken care of.
Yes, exactly.
100% aligned with you. Can you talk about, there's an activity, I don't know how often it is, so that's part of my question. What is Poultry to Pantries Day?
Well, we used to call it Community Outreach Day. And it was funny. We were at a board meeting. We were talking about with the marketing committee. And we got to come up with a thing. And I just said, "How about Poultry to Pantries?" I'm no marketing expert, but that seems to have stuck a little bit. It's a day where right now, twice a year, we're trying to go to 3 times a year. But what we do with our fundraising is we go out and we have a relationship with a very marvelous company in Indiana called Miller Poultry. And they sell us, we buy 80 tons, 160,000 pounds of frozen chicken from them twice a year. And we go to Dan Geriopka's place, Action Plastics, which is logistically set up nice for us, where we have truck loading docks, so the semis come and bring the chicken on pallets. And then we have volunteers that are breaking some of the pallets into half pallets because that's the smallest unit we'll give. And then food pantries from all around the metropolitan areas, far away as, way out in McHenry County, Will County, all the way around the entire metro area. We have relationships with them, and they come, and we have this sort of system. It's really actually a lot of fun, where they drive through. We have a couple of lanes, and we load chicken onto their trucks or whatever. Some of them actually are oftentimes too small, and the trucks go out wheel up, But it's really a remarkable event, and we usually start loading around 7:30 in the morning, and usually by 9:30, 10 o'clock, we've given away 160,000 pounds of chicken.
Wow.
The big tragedy is that something like 80% of it is consumed in the first week.
Wow. I didn't realize
Okay.
that. Maybe
And we've got some programs. We will buy a freezer for a pantry that doesn't have a freezer. We've got a program going in McHenry County like that for right now. But it is a remarkable thing to watch. And we used to do it at Sunset Foods, but the logistics were difficult because the loading docks weren't right. And you had many more people. You had traffic and everything else. This Northbrook Police has been wonderful. They've supplied us with an officer to help us with traffic, and we've got it down to a very strong system now, so it gets done very efficiently.
I have an idea. Okay, so I got my start in criminal justice by being a police explorer, and people, I've had them on the show. It's a volunteer program through the Boy Scouts where different companies, organizations actually train the kids on what it would be like in the career. And I was a police explorer. I believe Northbrook has one, and I think you might be able to get them to also volunteer, more people. Traffic control, you have a little bit more. And if you go to the Lake County Fair, those are the guys doing the parking lot detail.
That's nice. Yeah, actually, I don't think we've ever talked to them about it. We call the police department, can we get some help? And they usually bring some help. It is very efficient. We don't need tons of people for it because also our board volunteers, and we make sure the trucks get out safely and traffic is stopped and that sort of thing, and we organize all that. But any additional help we get from anybody, we're good with.
What do you have a date for the next program?
The next one is yesterday, and our next one I think will be probably in March.
Okay.
Next year.
In March.
Unless we can raise even more money and maybe sneak another one in or get a third one going, which is one of our goals.
Very good, very good. Well, I'll look up the March one. I'll see if I can join. I know this well, I'm just telling you this. It won't air.
When we return, we'll be continuing the conversation with Richard Greenswag and talking about Hunger Resource Network and how you can actually help people this holiday season. Stay tuned. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.